there. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Oh, wait a minute. My video went off.
Yes.
There we
It keeps
Oh,
going
went
off.
off again. Try that again. Good.
Yes, there you go.
Oh, I mean,
Okay.
wait
Hi.
for the. Sorry, just a minute then.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, we're at 7 o'clock, so I'll call the meeting to order for our July 9th meeting. Just doing a quick roll call, we have 3 directors in attendance here in the room, and our Vice Chair Bonato attending remotely. We
I have a question to ask Vice Chair Bonato. Thank you for joining us. Are there any members of the public over 18 in the room with you?
Or not.
We're not. Okay, thank you.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I forgot to mention that Secretary Glover is out, but excused absence. So let's go ahead and move on. This is item 3, public comment. It's an opportunity for the public to comment on anything, under our purview, but it's not on the agenda for tonight. Just checking, do we have any public comment?
We do not have any public comment.
Okay, then I'll go ahead and close the public comment and bring it to item 4, which is the reports and presentations and the general manager's report. So, Michelle.
Thank you, Chair Wurst. So I have a written report. I wanted to highlight a number of things from that report. First, it's great that Corey Riley is in the room. And I just wanted to commend Corey and her staff for receiving the top training provider for 2025 for the American Red Cross. And it's based on the number of certifications, certificates issued, and they did over 260 in 2025. So they prepared over 260 lifeguards to watch public pools and private pools and all of those things over last year. So that was a good kudos, Corey. Thank you for highlighting that. And then the 4th of July recap. I want to thank all of you for joining us on the 4th of July. I want to thank the marketing staff and Tom and his crew, specifically Tom and Phil, who spent many hours on building the cake and getting the float ready. I got a text message from the city manager as the float was going by, and he's like, "You guys win best float." Like, we're the only float, but that was really great. So I think that was a really great tribute. So thank you very much, staff, for that. And then just a reminder that Blues and Brews is next weekend. And so if you would like to volunteer to either pour beer or work in our booth, let me know. If you just want to attend, please attend. We also have some spots open for pouring beer. So please let me know. But with that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions?
Comment?
Yeah, well, comment, I just wanted to extend the appreciations for Bill as well. I normally, have that at the close of the meeting, but just seeing, how much time and effort went into putting that, birthday cake together. I understand that, he meticulously cut out all the letters, as he was originally planning to do some stencil, but, went ahead and just, did the lettering by hand, and it was so sharp, it looked fantastic, the final, cake, coming to life like that vision. And then, Tom as well, he had indicated that trailer was pretty much only supposed to be used for, maintenance equipment, but was able to allow it, special exception for the parade to be used. So appreciation to both Phil and Tom. I want to extend that to both you guys for making it the best float of the parade. So you go ahead.
I'll just add a little bit to that. Along the route, I had several of the community along the route. They were thrilled to see an actual float in the parade. And, you know, the kids were wondering what flavor the layers were. And then at one point I said, well, we'll see if anything comes out of the top of the cake. If anybody's in there. But that didn't happen. That would have been cool, Tom.
Yeah.
But it really was masterful, and I hope they can keep it and reuse it in some way.
76.
I understand it's strong enough to stand on top of, like a
Yeah.
platform, so it might end up, being repurposed in some way.
Or something.
It's been disassembled, but I'm glad we know that now because building maintenance is doing the float next year.
Okay.
I don't know if Sandy had any comments.
Oh, yeah, Sandy, anything that you would want to contribute?
No, it was just a great day, and thanks to all. Took a lot of staff time and effort, and appreciate all of that.
I'm gonna hold you to that, Tom, for making more floats in future years. There was a lot of comments on where did all the floats go? And it was nice to see a float
Yeah.
in the parade, so to bring that back. But also, when I was walking with the Dolphins, they had also mentioned that they used to walk a lot with the group, and so they hadn't done so in quite some time. So being able to invite, I think, a lot of our programs in whatever form, I think might be fun and fun too, just to have those kids out there.
We always invite them. But
No, they don't.
it
They don't come out. Oh.
No, it just depends. They used to, but it depends on the parents, right? Because all of those are kids that their parents have to bring them. So
Fair.
it was good to see a good contingent of
Yeah.
Dolphins this
Yeah,
year.
it was fun.
Yeah, it was a nice turnout, even considering it's on a Saturday, when people might have taken an extended weekend to go places, but we had quite a few people attending, so. And I was exceptionally pleased with the turnout at the park afterwards too. There seemed to be quite a few people, so they kept the party going and just migrate over here, so. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on then to the consent calendar, which we can enact with one motion. But if there's anything that, someone would want to pull for discussion, we can do so at this time. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move the consent calendar.
Second,
I'll second.
moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye.
And I for me.
Sandy is an aye.
Okay, consent calendar passes. We'll move on to item 6, action items for tonight's meeting. First is to adopt a resolution regarding the authorization of imposition of a fee for the use of electronic payments, and there's a staff report associated with that, so.
There is. Lisa, you want to join me in case there's questions I cannot answer? So staff is coming to you with a recommendation to impose a 3% fee for use of electronic payments. Since Lisa has been here, we have gotten some transparency on the fees that have been charged. So basically, previously, those just kind of they were charged, but they were not accounted for in our general ledger. And so they just kind of disappeared, right? So when Lisa got here, she realized that was what was happening. And so she has diligently tracked on a monthly basis, all of the fees that were charged and properly associated them with the administration fee line in our general ledger. And so what we've come to find out is that credit card fees are plentiful and very difficult to identify. There is not a consistent fee, so it's not like we get charged just 2% for credit cards or just 4% for MasterCard. It depends on a lot of things, including if it's a business account, if it's which tier it is, prepaid versus debit. It's all very different. And then on top of the percentage, the initial percentage that we're charged a whole bunch of different fees. As I mentioned in the staff report, there's about 35 different fees, including origination fees and, storage fees, and there's lots of fees. And so, all told, we are, our kind of effective rate is about 8%. So basically, all of the payments that we're taking in, electronic payments, were about 8%, is what we're being charged and by Global Payments. And so, so there is a government code section that allows us to impose a fee for the use of credit card, debit card, or electronic funds transfer. So that's any electronic payment. And it's not to exceed the costs incurred by the agency. And so, so we're recommending a 3% convenience fee, or 3% fee for use of electronic payments. The district would still, at this point in time, if our effective rate is about 8%, still be picking up 5% of that, right? So, so we'll recover some of that. The reason why we are recommending that is that seems to be around where neighboring agencies are at. They're at between 2.5 and 3%. Hayward area is kind of the most, not to exceed 4%. So while we understand this is an additional fee for customers and participants, we will have a no fee option, and that will be by check or cash. The only issue with that is you cannot do that. You cannot use either of those forms of payment online. So they would have to come into the office or use the drop box. We do have a drop box. We do have people who prepay their account in cash, and then they can go on and use whatever credit online. So we do have some options for that. While today I'm asking for you to approve the resolution for the 3%, I also want to let the board know that we are working with a consultant to try to recover some of these what are considered jump fees and are outside of the scope of our contracts. And so, so we are doing that. We are also looking to renegotiate with Global Payments. So those two things are in order. And then we're also looking at the other two options that Civic Rec has for a credit card processor and see if we can get lower fees. So, so that is where we're at on that. But right now, Global Payments is who we're using, and we're recommending the implementation of that fee as of August 1st. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Great, yeah, I'll open it up then for any questions. I've got a few, but I'll let the other directors weigh in on this.
Okay.
Sure. When did the contract start with Global Payments?
2020, in 2023.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, did you have, yeah, go ahead, Vice Chair Bernardo.
Michelle, what does that look like on the registration form? Does it look like a 3% surcharge, or does it look like the registration fee as if it includes that 3%, and then there is a discount for those who pay by check or cash?
We haven't worked out all of the options with Civic Rec yet on how we can implement that. But the thought is that it would be a surcharge. So it would be the regular registration fee and then 3% surcharge on top of that. And I don't know, Sandy, if we can implement it where there would be a discount for cash. I don't know the mechanics of that. We would have to see what the software would allow us to do.
Right. So it does look like it is, if you use a credit card and register online, you have to pay 3% more.
Correct. Or if you come into the office and pay with a credit card, you'll have to pay 3% more.
Yeah. Okay. My next question is, what percentage of our registrants pay by credit card or check, or
98%.
Yeah, 98% of our yeah, it's about 98% that use a card. Almost all of our
Transactions are.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And the like for the city of Pleasant Hill where they charge you the 3%. Does that appear on their registrations as a surcharge?
Yes, when I've made a payment by credit card for the city of Pleasant Hill for a permit and it shows up as a surcharge. So it's the permit fee plus the 3%.
Okay.
Mhm.
Probably as a convenience fee,
Yeah.
not as a,
Thank you.
is that how we're classifying as we can't charge for the use of certain types of cards, but we can charge for the cost of processing certain things as a convenience or recovery pass-through fee.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
I had a question, you mentioned some of these fees that are sort of outside contract. Can you explain a little bit what that?
Well, I mean, it's hard to, they seem to add new fees all the time. Okay, and so like on a monthly base, almost monthly basis, there's a new fee of some sort, an equipment fee or something like that. So we have a consultant who is looking at our original contract, and he is verifying what was included in that contract versus the fees that were being charged now, and see if there are any that are outside of that they've added after our contract started, to see if we can recover any of that. And he is also looking to see, he's also good at renegotiating the overall percentage. So we're also looking at that. So he is doing an analysis for us at this point in time.
And he's getting paid on recovery only basis.
Yeah.
If he creates no savings for the district, he's not getting.
Oh,
Yeah.
You have to find something
Mhm.
performance based.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I was curious too, you mentioned that, there isn't an option necessarily for doing cash payment online. I can understand that, but with like DMV transactions that I've done, I've been able to use a routing number for my checking account and the checking account number.
That's also an electronic fund transfer.
But is there a
Yeah.
fee associated?
There is,
with it?
yeah.
Okay, so
We pay about 4%.
on
on
those
those.
types of
Mhm.
transactions, but it's maybe less than what you would
Yeah.
have with credit card fees that are
Mhm.
not in our control. Okay. Because
Yeah, because it still is, I mean, it's still an electronic funds that's going through a bank, and they still charge us a percentage on that.
yeah,
And then they also charge other fees on top of that. So
Mm.
monthly fees, service fees, like
all
they
yeah,
it is, I believe I sent some information to the board. So in May of 2026, we processed almost $250,000 worth of
just fees.
registrations and rentals, and $20,000 of that went to fees. So we're looking to recover just a little bit of that.
There was also in the report a mention of having like a balance, that perhaps someone could, opt to
Yes.
maintain a balance with
Yeah.
the district and they just deduct from
Correct.
an ongoing account balance.
Yeah, so people can put money on their accounts, and then they can then register online with using money that is on their account. So let's say someone wants to register, knows they want to register before camp, they can come and put $500 on their account, check or cash, we'll put it on there for them, and then they can use it. We do it a lot with the teen center, so parents will put money on their account, and then kids can use it at Snack Shack.
Oh, I see.
So it's so it's
Give them some flexibility in how the money is used for.
so, but they can store money on their account and use it.
sounds like that's a very small percentage, isn't it?
That's a very small percentage that use it. I mean, it's, I would anticipate if we implement this fee and we make people aware of that option, it may actually, increase if people do not want to pay the fee. We'll provide those options for them.
I don't have other questions. Any other questions?
Just some clarifying questions. So ACH and EFTs are slightly different. One's a larger umbrella term, one's a specific kind of transfer. So it is the lowest percentage of any kind of transfer 4%.
Yes, that's our lowest.
So even if, like Chair Bush was saying, the input of actual
Yes.
numbers, that sounds a little high for a direct bank transfer.
You would think, yes, this is why we're looking at all of the fees that are
Yeah.
attached to it, so.
Usually that is sort of flat.
Yeah.
Very low,
Yeah.
like 50 cents.
Well, it's, so
4% seems like an awful
so
high
just on
amount
that-
for just,
member Trent, just on, yes, it's like 0.99% just on that, but there's an equipment fee, there's a whole bunch of fees, so when you do it in total, then it is definitely, but then it's 4%, so.
So the 3% proposal keeps us under our lowest cost, so we
Right.
would never profit off it. The fees would never be a profit off it. It would
Right.
always be some level of recovery.
Right,
Mhm.
I just wanted to share
Yes.
that with.
we don't, that isn't our goal, and we wanna make sure we're not profiting off of that.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's illegal too, I think.
Yeah, it is. Correct.
But
It is illegal
I just
as well.
wanted to make sure we state
Yes.
that up front.
Base there, and then if we renegotiate rates and these go down, then we can definitely, we would move it down, if we were able to renegotiate or change processors that had a lower fee.
I can bring Michelle a statement to show the list of fees. There is 30 fees at least on one statement.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's great.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Thank you for supply. I had asked a question about the different cards. So the lowest one on that list you sent me was a Visa debit card at 3.8%.
Yeah.
The lowest one.
Mhm.
And then it's the way that this is sort of written up. Thinking about potential other ways to transfer funds electronically. There are a lot of new options and continuing to have more options. So not just cards, but P2P networks and other types of things. Many places are starting to accept more and more. Those are slightly different fees as well too. It's written in a way to sort of capture the future.
This would capture anything, yeah.
So if in the future, 5 years from now, we were to even change currency to acceptance of the cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
That would also include all of that as well too.
It is an electronic payment, so
Yeah,
yes.
so I'm just wondering,
Right,
make sure because
and cryptocurrency have not been accepted yet into the government code.
not yet.
So, but that's
Yeah.
a good thinking ahead for sure.
I just sort of want to make sure we sort of address all of those as things are changing very quickly in terms of the payment markets. So.
Mhm. What's available.
And then the final thing
No, it's all right.
The implementation timeline seems awfully aggressive of August 1st. Since we didn't even know whether the testing is gonna work or not.
We can push it out to September 1st. Yeah, I think we wanted to get this in June, but I did not get it on the last agenda, so.
Okay.
So we can push it out to September 1.
There's some flexibility on there.
I would say, is there a reason to hold it to September? I mean,
Testing, we need to test.
I think-
to make sure.
Okay, and if we're flexible where if it's, I would shoot for August, and then if the testing has more questions than we can deal with at the moment, then I would kick it out to September, but I don't see any reason to delay it.
I mean, we're not the only ones that use Civic Rec that have this fee, so I'm pretty sure that the option is gonna be fairly
Simple to implement.
simple.
Yeah.
It's straightforward.
Do we owe any sort of period of notification for the public that we're gonna be adopting these fees before we implement them? Like a 30-day period or anything? that you're
Not
aware of?
technically, but we can.
Okay.
It would be what the board would be comfortable with.
Okay, well, if that's the end of questions, I want to just check if there are any public comments on this.
No
No,
public
okay.
comments.
And then we can circle back for some more discussion about this if we're ready. Yeah. So, I had something I wanted to, talk about just in terms of setting the 3%. I think it's, in line with, some of the others that we have seen as, references. But seeing as how the credit card fees seem to be, ever increasing and changing, and it's, somewhat, just within the middle or average. do we want to consider, maybe adopting a policy that we would just maintain an average of the credit card fees that are assigned rather than a set percentage? I just want to sort of account for future years, like what opportunities do we have to change the percentage over time if fees continue to increase? Does that
What do
then
you
come
mean by
back?
that?
Well, like you take, between the min and the max, what we're paying in terms of credit card fees and just take the middle point as an average credit card convenience fee that we would charge.
I thought we were not allowed to collect more on any.
On any
We are
single
not.
tran-
Yeah,
trans-
single transaction, yeah, so.
So we're limited by the lowest.
Correct. Yes,
so-
correct.
Or at the point of sale, right? So
Yeah.
you can collect, say, if somebody charged one type of electronic funds that was 2% cost, they would be charged 2% and then. Or if somebody used a different form that was 4%, it could be adaptive, but I don't know if Civic Rec.
Civic, Global Payments is not, that's the problem. Forte, which is another processor that Civic Rec uses, can do that. So if we move to Forte as an option, then they can do that at the point of sale.
Sort of adapt.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Adapt it, yeah, but Global Payments.
So we can put like a maximum if
Right.
we wanted to.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think we can do averages though, right?
Okay, yeah, all right. That negates that kind of option. Vice Chair Bonanno.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I think we should be very grateful to staff for bringing this issue to our attention. This is a considerable expense for the district to absorb. I'm troubled by the fact that so much of our registration encourages people to register online. It's a significant inconvenience for them to try and save 3% by actually coming down to the office or mailing in a check, which isn't really an option when you register online. But I really believe that the district's pricing programs ought to consider this overhead expense that we have. And I guess I would like to have seen some analysis of what would happen if we increased our program expenses. I'm sorry, our charges, say, and I think 3% is too low. I'm really troubled by absorbing an additional 5% on top of it. To try and what would happen if we increased our rates by 5%? As a way of absorbing this as a true administrative cost that we now understand that we have. 98% of people who register for our programs are paying that way. I know when I see that, it is a major irritant to me to know that I have to pay an additional 3% because I'm using my credit card or even my ATM card. And so I think there's kind of a negative patina to it as well. At least that's my reaction when I see this kind of 3% surcharge because I'm using my credit card. So I guess I'm absolutely supportive of us finding ways to cover this expense, but I'm not sure that 3% is the right number, and I'm not sure that doing it as a surcharge is the way that I would support.
I sort of share your perspective there in, the charging of this 3% surcharge. It's not really all that palatable, but I think there's perhaps a bit of a flaw in terms of just increasing our fees to kind of cover that, in that now we're just paying more, and then there's going to be an additional fees for the use of paying for, more of the program. It's just increasing that percentage.
8% off a higher amount.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I was like, it unfortunately, it doesn't necessarily resolve that, money that we're paying for credit card fees, so.
I think there's more discussion going on about those junk fees. I've seen things in media and heard things. So I think that's being looked at. I don't know how quick something would happen with junk fees. the if we could call it, I don't know, do we have to call it a surcharge?
I call it a convenience fee. There's lots of.
Yeah, I mean, how many times nowadays, if you donate
Mhm.
to whatever, foundation or this or that, there is typically a line that says, would you consider, well, it's either
Yeah.
we're gonna charge you 3% or 2.5% or whatever it is to cover the credit card costs, the fees, or would you consider adding $2.50 to your $100 or whatever it is, so that we don't have, so that the organization does not have to pay that. I've seen that now for several years and more, and even receipts in restaurants. They'll break it down in all these different fees, which I know are all related to credit cards and various other these junk fees that we're getting charged from global payments. So I'm glad that staff is taking a look at that part of it and maybe going away from them. That'll be interesting to hear what Civic Rep can offer versus global payments, and if there's any other way to reduce those. I hear you, Vice Chair Bonato. I'm 3%. I could go higher. It's just, how do we want to do this? And if we do the convenience fee and things change, we can always modify or do something different with that process. But it would take another
Resolution.
Or resolution to
Yeah.
do so.
3% is definitely low compared to nearby and all other agencies I've been in.
Mhm.
But the point of increasing the rates in lieu of the fees, what will happen, the way credit card fees work, they work volume based. If we increase the rate from $7 to $10, fees will increase proportionally to that and will not result in savings of costs for the district and ultimately for the public, and public pays for everything.
So, I'm sorry, did you have, I was gonna jump in.
Yeah, go ahead, Vice Chair Bonato.
Yeah, I understand that conundrum, but if we were to go, say, 5% across the board in fee increases instead of 3%, maybe we are capturing 4.5% of that. I still think that that is a more transparent and less irritating way of looking at covering this expense that we have for programming. So yes, I do understand that it's not a wash, but I think there are ways that we could at least improve our position by looking at fee increases instead of this fee. Just a thought.
When I first saw this, so I have an allergy to convenience fees and will seek out a competing company just to avoid a convenience fee. I have realized it is becoming increasingly difficult to do that because now everybody essentially implemented one way or another a convenience fee. But the thing that that was troubling for me in this one is that there was usually a way to pay at the point of sale using some sort of form that you won't get charged. Whether it's inputting your account directly, using a debit card, or they should sort of separate that out. So there's usually some at the point of sale. And so what troubled me was, I think what Vice Chair Bonato was sort of pointing out, was that we are sort of imposing on those who choose a no fee option, sort of this very arduous process to either prepay your account or come to the And so that to me, I think is a little bit unfair that we're allowing those who use other forms of payment a little bit of a, you know, bonus in that sense. So in my mind, I ultimately came down with everybody's charging this, so in the end, I think we're probably just gonna follow suit eventually at some point anyways, either now or whatever in the future. I'm not big on raising the fees because that affects everyone. And I think that's unfair for some portions of our population, in which, you know, raising fees across the board, I think is unfair. I think there will be some people who will try to use the cash check more of that option. If I might even try that, like I said, I have an allergy to but I think there should be something built into this that those who are inconvenienced because we don't have a typical, for example, way to pay a point of sale, a no fee option, that we should allow people who do cash some sort of incentive, 1% discount, whatever, you know, you come in. The 2% maybe it'll be maybe 5% now who come in. Yeah, to say if you come in with cash or check, it's an inconvenience to prepay or whatever it is, we give you 1%, whatever, you know, whatever it may be, a discount as a way to sort of, if we're trying to message this, because tacking this on, I think in the next 2.5 weeks without messaging to, I think that would just rub people the wrong way. I actually would like to have the rollout spread out a little bit more, so that one, if we need to get this right, so if it's wrong, then it's just going to generate, you know, bad will. But two, sort of better messaging around not only the fee, but I'm proposing, if we're going to move forward with this, the modification of the resolution, and actually the House staff do that, we actually consider people who are paying by cash some sort of incentive or discount as an offset. I'm okay with raising, actually the 3% is probably the lowest. We're looking at all these convenience fees, they add up, right? It's like 2%, 3%, and so I'm thinking like 4 or 5% is kind of what I'm seeing on a lot of receipts nowadays. But if we want to start with 3 and just sort of, you know, work away, you know, from there, I think that's reasonable. It'll offset at least some amount, so that's better than none. And so I'm proposing some sort of at least change in the resolution to give cash payers a little bit of an incentive, and then it says effective August 1, changing the resolution date to a little bit further out, just to give us a little bit of a runway, to make sure everything, you know, it plays out correctly. There's enough testing, there's enough messaging, marketing, so that people are not blindsided by this. Because August is still in the summer, so we have a fall registration, right, and winter registration coming up.
Yeah, it's coming up here in September, so
So
that might help bound our timeline, you know, before the fall registration.
I don't know how that would work out, but I would like a little bit more runway just to be sure everything works before people are starting to load up on their next
schedule. Go ahead.
I'm not quite sure on your suggestion that people who pay cash get an additional discount. Is that so that more people will pay cash?
No, because I think
because we got 98%.
No, because we're inconveniencing them. So every time I go somewhere for point of sale, there is an option. So if I pay credit card, that's 3% fee. But if I whip out my debit card, they may not charge me. Or if I whip out my, you know, I have my checking account number, if they just go directly transfer, that might be. So there's at the point of sale, there's always an option typically for no fee thing. We don't have that right in Civic, right? Unless you preload your account at an inconvenience, right? Either you come to the thing, say you estimate how much you may want to pay, put 500, put 700. Not everybody can just drop a balance into an account. People sometimes just pay as they go along. That's a typical thing. And so if we're inconveniencing people, if there's not an option at the point of sale, I think we should at least just acknowledge and compensate for that time wasted to do so. And I don't think it's going to be a large amount.
No, I'm just not sure. I'm not getting, if somebody's coming in to pay for a class that they're going to use cash, which they normally do.
Yeah, but they can't register for it until
they get coming into an office to do it.
So you're allowing people to register.
Right, when they come in and give us money, we register them right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we're doing first come, first serves, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
so you're basically, somebody has to figure out how to time that in order to get the class that they want, right? So we're not only inconveniencing cash people, we're disadvantaging them because they can't
I
register
went for it immediately.
right away,
Yeah.
immediately. Cause there's not a point of sale.
Only at camps, and we're gonna need to figure something out for camps. And
Yeah.
so-
Camps,
so
swim
that-
lessons,
swim
whatever,
lessons,
and
yeah,
there's a ton of,
yeah.
there's things
Yes.
that there's a limited enrollment slots, right?
Yeah.
And
You
so
wanna get
if
in
you're,
while you
yeah,
can.
so if you're a cash payer,
Yeah.
you don't get that, you don't get the advantage, right? And so you're disadvantaging them.
Pre-electronic, that's what it all was. You
Mhm.
brought your check down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In lieu of mailing it, because you wanna make sure that you're at the head of the line,
Mhm.
so.
Well, if.
I understand that.
If
that
Democrat
balance.
can do a point of sale, no fee option, then I would support as is. But I have not heard that that is an option.
We have not,
I've seen that. It's just-
at this point, we do not have that with global payments, so. But there may be, as we move forward and choose a different processor, but we haven't explored all of those options yet, so we're just in the middle of that.
Yeah, we will find the way to reduce these fees, but it will take time.
Mhm.
Negotiating with global payment and the best case scenario going away from global payment.
So then I mean, that could be sort of a step thing. So I think if the current state is, we can't do that, we just have to inconvenience people for paying cash. So we implement sort of this phase thing, where we say, okay, we have to inconvenience you, you may be disadvantaged in registering, yada, yada. But here's a sort of something to offset that. And in the future, if there's a point of sale option for no fee, then we can alter that at that time. And we can maybe even alter just our rates at the same time as we're doing that. And I think it's also an equity issue, because who pays cash
Right,
most of the time, right? And so it's
Exactly.
people who don't have access to credit, right? And
yes.
so if we're disadvantaging people, we're disadvantaging certain groups of people who are more likely to use cash.
Yeah, I see your hand is raised there, Vice Chair Banana.
Yeah, I have to agree with people being impacted. Any of our impacted programs, for whether it's rentals or preschools or camps or bocce or anything that tends to fill up. This is a problem. This is just a problem. And then lastly, I'd like to point out that again, I think 3% is too low. It should be 5%. And I just want to point out that if it's at 98% of our registrants, essentially we're increasing our rates by 3 to 5%. It's just a fact of life. Thank you.
Yeah, pass through. I wanted to, talk a little bit about, Hayward had in there like up to 4%, as part of their, I guess, resolution or credit card fees that they would recover. And what you had said about, the point of sale transaction, are the credit card fees like transparent that you're paying at the point of sale, so that, you can say if, someone is paying 3 credit card transaction at the time that the payment is made, that we could then, get that 3.8%, covered as part of their transaction.
We don't currently have that.
Don't have that.
We don't have that capability.
Not the adaptive.
Not yet.
Not
Not
yet.
yet.
There's not.
So
With
that's
the
why I
current
was
processor, there is not that capability.
thinking of it like, kind of having at least a bit of that flexibility. When you say up to 4%, then, it gives them the flexibility. If we had that option in the future to be able to, see what those fees are, then it's pretty much, whatever, they are charged for, the fees are getting added.
The resolution says up to a certain, in
Yeah.
practicality though, we're charging a flat fee, right? We're not doing an adaptive fee.
The way it's written is like.
Yeah.
3%.
At this point, yes, but if I change processors,
Yeah, it may.
then it may be, right?
Okay.
So-
So
Yeah, so we're limited by who we're currently using. I gotcha. So, okay.
with 3.5%, sort of ensure that we're always below, so we're not making money off of it, but we're trying to collect a little bit more.
You could do 3.5%.
That's about, just below that,
Just
whatever it
below
was,
the lowest one.
the lowest, 3.8 or whatever it was. Well, I was kind of, oh, sorry, go ahead, Vice Chair Bernardo.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize I had my hand up. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just wanting to make sure that, you know, when we look at, you know, maybe adopting this resolution, that we give ourselves some flexibility, you know, for it, being able to adapt in, you know, the future conditions, but it can always come back.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the only reason for that is that you don't want to see this again, and you would give it, you know, staff control of that, and then we could adapt it, but, you know, I hear that there's a lot of concern about this, as there is consternation from the staff side. We have always covered these fees. You know, but we're spending $350,000 a year in fees. And so, you know, that's a hefty amount. So if we can even, you know, take a third of that off, then, you know, we would have more money to do programs,
Right,
so.
like senior meals or children,
Yeah.
why the public pays to this credit card company?
Yeah. And I see it as well that, you know, other people who are not taking advantage of the services that the
Right.
district provide are subsidizing those kinds of credit card fees, I think, for things that they don't even get, you know, as part of their services.
I mean, from a staff's perspective, and this is you know, the board direct us how to do that. From our perspective, 3% is reasonable to start with. It's not gonna be a huge sticker shock. And I think that, you know, that is kind of why we landed at that. But, you know, I would like to get to the point of where, you know, it is adaptive, so I'd like to hopefully find a processor that we can do that. And then that would, you know, would be what we would like, so.
Can we talk a little bit about potential changes to the resolution? It sounded like, you know, Director Trent had made a couple of suggestions as far as, you know, extending the time in which this would become effective. To give us a little bit more time to, you know, work through the logistics. You know, I had one just minor, you know, change that I would want to see, in that it's on the fourth whereas, you know, or the statement that says processor fees and bank fees, which total approximately 350,000 annually.
Mhm.
I just wanted to strike that, you know, amount from the resolution in, you know, that it's kind of based on, you know, current conditions, you know.
It's based as of, from July 1st, 2025 to June 30,
Yeah.
2026, fiscal year 26, that's exact
Right.
fees.
Yeah.
Why would you want to strike that?
Just because it seems to me as it pins an actual number as to, you know, what we end up, you know, having to pay in terms of fees, which I think this is in flux.
These whereases, all the whereases is just the background story as to why you're charging that fee.
Yeah,
So I think including the number that we're paying,
helps
is
to
important.
provide perspective. I agree. It's just that I think that, you know, it's a number that is gonna change in my mind in this
It will.
resolution.
It will, but it doesn't
It's
matter.
already increased from
Yeah.
that amount.
I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't, I mean, that number being in there changing doesn't matter. I mean, we're still charging the same 3% fee.
True.
So it, you know, but it does provide clarity and understanding if someone is to read the resolution as to why the board
We're
agreed to do
imposing the
this.
fee. Yeah.
This is, you know, reason why.
Can I,
Mhm.
so, a couple of proposals, so one is that the date. I don't know when the fall stuff is start, but sometime right before the fall, just
For
give us
registration.
another extra month or so, just to give us a little extra time, so that's.
September 1st.
Yeah, so September 1st, I think is reasonable. I would propose that whereas go to 3.5%. So up to, so the staff wants to start at 3, that's fine, but I
Yeah.
give you that flexibility, but I
Oh.
would like to have another sort of statement in there, say that maybe a cash payment discount or whatever of that 0.5%, as well as something like 0.5%. Cap or whatever it may be, you pay cash, just to sort of offset until we get to the point where we have a different processor and they can do sort of.
So the
a
point of
monthly-
sale transaction.
A little point of sale transaction. And then just in terms of just how it's worded, is with staff authorized to implement a fee up to and then some number, is that a whereas, or is that now therefore be it resolved component like?
Oh.
Therefore, the staff can now implement it rather than a whereas. Because whereas is background information, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah, that probably needs to go down.
Therefore be
Yeah.
resolved.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just.
Okay.
authorizes the
Frame it.
imposition of a, yeah, well, that's where that background information is, then it's it authorizes the imposition of a 3.5% fee. Up to. Yeah, we
Yeah,
can
up
page
to
that.
3.5%.
Just to be sure,
Yeah.
The way
first.
Just that way, they're.
Would you like me, I mean, with the September 1st, I mean, I want to make sure that the board is okay with the wording of the resolution. I would
Mhm.
prefer not to make edits and then adopt a resolution. So I can bring it back at your next meeting.
Seeing as I will have a little bit more time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, I'm prepared to.
I mean, if everyone is, kind of prepared to at least move forward with this,
Mhm.
we could still get the implementation rolling.
Roll,
But,
I see.
I mean, unless you would like to, wordsmith the resolution and then adopt it. I just want to make sure you're clear on what you're adopting.
Oh, I mean, that's all I'm proposing. I'm not sure, like my other fellow.
Yeah.
board
Not
members.
to wordsmith a resolution. I'd prefer to get it the way we've discussed here and bring that back. But if we need to give staff any direction, or I think.
I can
this
bring it
is-
back. We're okay with it. I'm okay with the September 1st date. We can still be moving
Okay.
forward.
Okay,
I mean, and if, I bring it back and then there's a vote, and you take a vote and it doesn't pass and we just stop what we're doing, so that's fine.
But let me understand, if we didn't, enact this motion tonight, that then sort of, doesn't allow us to continue to look at, implementing of this fee until the actual resolution.
Well,
is
the
done.
resolution, I mean, that's when we would actually implement,
Act on it.
we're moving it to September 1st anyways. So if we bring this back for your July 25th meeting, you still have 30 days.
So, yeah, there's still like the
Correct.
period of time that we would need, okay. Yeah.
Is that fine?
Yeah, I think that would be good. I guess in this situation, we wouldn't.
So I do have a
Yeah.
question on the suggested cash discount. Is that something that the majority of the board would like included?
I see it as, potentially, helping with the disadvantaged, communities that don't have access to credit to be able to provide some sort of cost relief.
Mhm.
And incentivize them, for using, cash and check as payment options. I think, the 0.5% is reasonable, or 1% even for, some reduction in cost for, what we would charge for the services if they paid by cash or check.
So technically, we wouldn't pay any fees, right? So
We wouldn't pay any of those fees, no,
Yeah,
correct,
so
but
we would be saving technically.
yeah.
5%, 6%,
5%.
whatever.
Mhm. So 0.5,
I
like
was
a
okay with
0.5%?
point- With the 0.5.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I would round up to 1.
well, I think that's also something.
Okay,
that
we'll look at that.
If you take a look at that to see how that.
Okay, yeah,
Then I'd like to hear about that too.
yeah, we'll look at what that looks like, so, okay, then we'll bring that back.
Okay, so I guess we'll have this there's no action as of yet. It will be, I guess brought back at a future a board meeting. With that, I guess we'll close item 6.1 and then move on to 6.2, which is the review and the discussion of the fiscal years. Thank you. The fiscal year 27-28 CIP budget.
Great, trying to get this started so I can. Yeah. Spacing, input slideshow, please. Good, screen is sharing. Okay, great. So tonight, I have the draft capital improvement project budget for 27 fiscal year 26-27 and 27-28. Typically this goes to both the budget committee and the land and facilities committee. I realized that that would be 4 of our 5 board members, so I thought it would just be prudent to bring it here. So this is the draft. I'm hoping, and I'm going to present it to you. I apologize for not getting this to you ahead of time, but I've had some personal issues. So so tonight I'm going to go walk through it and take comments, questions. We will adopt it with your, hopefully at the next meeting, unless there's some significant changes that you would like to see. So first, I'll start here. Go forward. Go forward. Oh, there we go. So let's talk about the completed projects for 25-26. So we have a number of projects that were completed this year. We bought a canopy for the aquatic park. We bought multiple canopies. The Pleasant Oaks Hawthorne Drive repaving project was completed. The Pleasant Oaks tot lot resurfacing was completed. The monument signage at 4 different parks. We had community center HVAC emergency repair. We had the Pereira Pavilion entry floor replacement. So the entryway floor was replaced. We had preschool chairs were replaced. The Rogers Ranch siding replacement project. We had security cameras here at Pleasant Hill Park installed. The teen center table replacement project. The Winslow Center exterior repainting and fleet vans. So we had a robust and pretty much everything was completed on our CIP that we adopted, except a couple of projects that we moved into the next year. We'll talk about that. We got 2 ongoing projects that are still ongoing that were in the CIP. One is the Roger Smith Park restroom and ADA access. That project, the fences came down today. Fences came down today. And so we have PG&E hookup on Monday, so it'll be, hopefully we'll be able to open that, starting next week, but temporary use, but yes. But the playground is open again, just an FYI, so which is great. So that is done. And then the community center courtyard generator, this project that the city is doing, they're installing the generator for the courtyard in the community center. That is also still ongoing. And I don't think they've started that yet, have they? No. They're gonna start in 20th. Okay. So that is ongoing as well. Any questions about those projects? So staff took a stab at providing kind of some priority recommendations. And I have these in different colors because when I go to the next slide, which is the 26-27, I have the colors in for the different levels. So first is a mandatory. So mandatory includes ongoing projects. So if we had any ongoing projects, so something that started in last year and is starting this year or is rolling into the next year. So that would be ongoing projects. Anything that was legal or regulatory, so required stormwater, trash receptacles, for recycling, all of those sort of things. So if anything is required because of some kind of regulatory or new law change or anything like that. And then safety obligations. So if there's a safety issue at a facility that makes it unsafe for us to use, then that is considered a level 1 priority. And then level 2 is necessary. So these are projects that you'll come to see. These are all projects that really is necessary for us to continue service at the same level. So if we didn't do this project, then we can't provide the same level of service. So for example, you're going to see the ADA lift, which would be considered a mandatory project because we need to provide ADA access to the pool. But something else like the pool filter needs to be replaced, and it's a necessary project. It's necessary because if we don't do it, then we have to shut the pool down. So those are kind of the distinctions. And then the last one is desirable, and that's green. So those are things that we would like to do. Because it's either time, or, it will reduce the cost of maintenance, all of those sort of things, but isn't necessary, doesn't fall in any of the other two categories. And so that is, but we'd like to get it done. So here are the 26-27 proposed projects. So we have the aquatic park pool projects. So you'll see in the aquatic park pool projects, the train park pool, I actually did that wrong. That should have been in, because is it not functional anymore? The lift?
No, it's currently working.
It's currently working, okay. It's desirable.
It's aged,
It's
though.
aged, okay.
Yeah.
Michelle, in fact, do we have a copy of that?
I do not, I'm sorry. I can do.
Cause I don't know if I'm
Size a
You're
little.
having a hard time?
No, I mean, just, I don't know if my memory can.
Remember,
Then-
yeah, let me,
If we're gonna talk about those or.
yeah, and we'll go back to them, but let
Maybe
me,
we'll just know which slide it is.
yeah, I'll go back. If I can stop and go make some copies, but I didn't print them out, sorry. But yeah, but we can stay on it, we can talk about it, so, and we'll stop. So we have the aquatic park pool projects, there's a pool pump, the pool filter. So the pool pump actually went out, and so we actually did do that with some of the money from the previous year that was left. The pool filter, that is dumping sand into the pool. They need to be replaced. The good news is that when we get the money to replace the pool, those can be used again in the new pool. So that is helpful. And then there's some aquatic park furniture that we originally had in this year that we didn't buy because of the pump. So that is and then the asterisks here mean that those are projects that were from this year that we moved into that were in this year's that we're moving to next year. The next is the Pleasant Oaks Park playground shade, the Roger Smith Park trellis replacement. The trellis that is over the barbecue area is deteriorating. We have a very nice new restroom. We really don't want a deteriorating trellis, so it's time to replace that. We actually had that in this budget, but because the project was ongoing and we couldn't do that project yet, we're just moving that funding to this year. That's why it has an asterisk. Park monument signage, and then the new standard trash receptacles. So we've had the trash receptacles on for a while. We need to upgrade to not only trash but also recyclables. We have requirements from the state of California. So those are coming. We're going to start with Roger Smith Park. Since Roger Smith Park has all of the new things, we're going to hopefully replace all of those there. We still need to choose one. And then the community center projects, the total of $189,000. We have the community center chairs, which are in this fiscal year. The preschool playhouse, which was also budgeted this year, but isn't going to arrive until this fiscal year. So we moved that money. And then the community center Pereira Pavilion entry tile replacement. The entry tile outside, correct? The outside tile. We have lots of cracks, and so we're going to replace that. And then the teen center snack shack freezer replacement and project. And then the Winslow Center elevator modernization, that is a required project. So right now the Winslow Center elevator does not work. So we do not have ADA access to the upstairs Winslow Center. We have gotten bids or tried to get multiple people to repair it. And we have one for a decent price of $52,000. They have to modernize it. Basically, it wasn't working. People were getting stuck in it on an ongoing basis, and so that needs to be and then the ADA modernization. So that is the annual $30,000 that we put in for ADA projects per our ADA transition plan. And so that is those are those projects. Any questions about the project specifically?
Yeah, ADA modernization, is that somewhat, that budget is applied to other projects that would help with ADA,
Other
like-
projects that aren't specifically on this list, but yeah, so that would be curb painting, signage, curb cutouts, you know, so basically this is the pot of money Lance uses to identify projects in the ADA transition plan that he wants to get done. And so, so per our ADA transition plan, we need to show progress. You know, we had $3 million in projects. A lot of the ADA tasks at Roger Smith Park got knocked out with the restroom project, right? So we made big progress there, but we've been putting about $30,000 into capital so that Lance can make some specific progress on that. Anybody else questions? So then 27, 28 right now. So we're
Michelle?
focused mostly on I'm
Michelle?
sorry. Yeah.
Can we go back one?
Yeah. Mhm.
So the community center chairs replacement, last year that was in the CIP budget, but Ryan argued that the dance floor needed to be replaced instead. Correct?
So this was in the CIP, but it was in for the 27-28 year. It was on that 3-year CIP. So this is that. And we did not do the dance floor. We wanted to do the entry replacement to see how that worked first. And we do not want to use that material for the dance floor. So we need to figure out options for replacing the dance floor. So we're not ready to do a project with that yet. Is that correct?
That was the reason that we pushed the chairs out a year. So the monies that were to be allocated for the dance floor were in this current year's CIP budget.
Correct. And we didn't use that, yes.
I don't know really, because we haven't seen this before.
Right.
I don't sort of know how the cash flow works. Somewhere in this project, are you providing us with some cash flow?
Yep, I am.
Okay.
Yes.
The other thing we talked about was the reason to replace those chairs was because Ryan said that the frames were beginning to get scuffed. And there was some discussion about sending the frames out to be powder coated again. It seemed to be the only problem there was with them. Rather than replace all of those chairs at a considerable amount of money, has staff looked into that alternative?
We have not.
We have not.
Is staff intending to
will.
look into that alternative?
They will. I did not remember that, Sandy, but yes.
Thank you.
Um,
One of
yeah.
the things that we typically do in committees when we're presented with these is to have a little bit of time to think about other things that we as board members have observed in the community that could use some attention. And also sort of figure ourselves out whether we agree with the priority issues or not. So while I don't necessarily have comments yet, as I think about these things a little bit more, I think all of us would like to have the opportunity to have that input and those comments, rather than have this evening be the discussion period moving right into approval. So Derek, I don't know, quite what what your intention is here, but the fact that this hasn't really been available ahead of time, I think gives me some concern.
And the board can direct this to go back to committee. You can, definitely, it doesn't have, it can come back 2-3 times, however many times you would like it to come back, it can come back. And so, but this is your first look. I understand that. It's just to kind of give you an understanding of kind of where staff is at this point in time, and then the board can decide if they want to send it back to committee.
Yeah, I think it is helpful to have, some time to sort of digest the information and process it and be able to, think through some of the questions at a subcommittee level so that, some of these questions can be vetted before it gets to the full board, for our deliberation. But I just want to, start off with, any other questions, before we get into, further discussion.
Were there more slides?
There are more slides.
There are some more slides. Okay, so we probably need to,
I'd like to,
Yeah.
at least here tonight, at least see what this presentation is, and
Yeah.
then we can
decide where
Decide
to go
after
from, yeah.
So then the 27-28 proposed projects, we have painting at the pool, the Shannon Hills Park Boardwalk Replacement Project, which we have plans for, and then the more trash receptacles. So we'd like to get that project finally off the ground. So this is just an overview of the last 3 years. So this year, currently, the 26-27 year and the 27-28 year of capital improvements by category. So park improvements, you'll see over the 3 years, we'll spend a total of 1.5 million, almost 1.6. Building improvements, 488,000. The courtyard, 79. Fleet vehicles, and then total and capital expenditures. And so this is what we have in expenditures. Total of the 3 years, 2.479 million. So that is just a way to look at kind of in total, kind of what we have. Obviously, the largest parks and improvement is the Roger Smith Park project, which is fairly extensive.
The boardwalk, does that span multiple?
That's in 27-28.
It's just 27, okay.
Yeah, 27-28. So that is that. So then, as far as funding goes, so we this year we had 1.2 million in funding, and then 26-27. 624,000, then 27-28, 617,000. From 4 sources: the general fund transfer, the Rogers Ranch Heritage Center refunded us the cost of the siding and painting project. Staff has put the Utz family trust money in the CIP as a suggestion to the board. So we've heard that that would be a more appropriate place for it. And then the state of California, which is a reimbursement for the Roger Smith Park project, for a total over the 3 years of like I said, about just under 2.5 million. So that is what we have in the funding. And then the unfunded projects that are still the unfunded projects from last year: Chilpan Sango Park playground structure, the 5-acre park at Oak Park, the Pleasant Hill Park parking lot resurfacing, and then the HVAC replacement and upgrade at the senior center, which seems to be kind of bumping along just fine. So with that, I think that's my last slide. But I want to put it on the schedule. I wanted to give you an overview of it. And then we can schedule, if you want to talk about it further in subcommittee, we can bring it back to both land and facilities and budget before we come back to the full board. But
would it need to go to both subcommittees before coming back, or just?
Well, I think so it would go to land and facilities for the projects. And then it goes to budget for the budget of those. But you could choose as a board to only send it to one.
Depending on what
depending on
questions we have.
what kind of questions you have. If your questions are mostly on the funding side, then then it would be appropriate to only go to budget and finance. If your question is on, are these the right projects, then you probably want to send it to land and facilities. So I'll take any questions, and I will I'll definitely send this to the board, post it.
Mhm.
But, yeah, so.
Well, open up for questions.
Sandy has a question, but
Oh, okay. I didn't see the hand
Yeah.
raised, sorry.
Michelle, the ability of the board to have some input on what the projects are, I think is valuable, as a group. At least to be able to brainstorm. So some questions I have, I know this boardwalk out at Shannon Hills has been on this list for a long time. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to devote to one corner of the community. I'm wondering if there is any appetite on the part of the board to look into alternatives to replacing the boardwalk out in that area. And another concern I have is out at that same park, at least visually, there is a split rail fence that is protecting the public from a very steep drop off that goes down to the creek. And the condition of that looks to me to be quite scary. So I wonder if staff could provide either the board or land and facilities with some kind of a condition report about the stability of that fence. And also perhaps some alternatives to regrading or, I mean, I know there's a riparian area up there where the boardwalk is, but whether there are some smart alternatives we could do, maybe we just don't have people walk back up in that area. I don't know. It's just a considerable expense. I do recall when we were talking about the bathroom at Roger Smith that we were going through a considerable period of time where graffiti was a problem. And it was mentioned at the time that we needed some security cameras out at Roger Smith in order to be a deterrent to protect that very expensive building that we're building out there. So that was another item that I can recall being discussed. I've noticed that some of the shade structures at Pleasant Oaks Park to the north of the batting cages has a tear in it. I don't know whether that's repairable or whether I would hope it could be repaired, but if not, it probably needs to be replaced because it's starting to tear and look really, really bad. And then I thought that there was some discussion about putting some minimum improvements into Chilpancingo Park. And I don't know whether that is part of what's being proposed here or not. So those are just off the top of my head, some things that, I'd like to at least have on the table to to talk about. And others in the board may want to, pop in with some thoughts they have themselves from, just their walking around the district. Those are mine.
Yeah. I think that's great to, start thinking through a little bit of the list. I think I recall having seen or heard, previously as well that the pathway improvements for Dinosaur Hill were kind of, tabled since it was going to be very costly for, that improvement to be done. And then
You mean Shannon Hills?
no, at Dinosaur, I think, wasn't it? We're looking to do the trail improvements at
I don't believe so.
It was a stairway.
Oh, the stairway. Oh, the stairway.
Sorry.
Stairway. Yeah, the board decided not to replace the stairway.
Yeah. The only other one that I sort of questioned too, and I know it's kind of tough for me, in that we have, some budget for the park monument signage. But it seems as though we took care of the signs that were highly visible first, and there's just a handful of signs that aren't necessarily in view of the public on a day-to-day basis. So I'm almost thinking that's perhaps a project that might be somewhat on the back burner, if you will.
Yeah, I think we have money in there for the last two, which is Shadowwood and Las Juntas. Any other comments, questions, additional projects you want us to
Well,
consider before we bring it back?
I think if I understand the color scheme again, is the green is, ones that are,
Desirable.
Oh, desirable,
Yeah.
okay,
The purple is mandatory and the 2 is necessary, the blue is necessary, so.
okay,
So the dive pump and the pool filter,
yes,
if we don't do those, then then we can't use the pool.
gotcha,
And then the training pool lift is working currently, but it's an ADA component that is how many years old now?
It's 2012.
Yeah, so it's pretty old and then, the furniture is nice to have, but
because the only other item I see on this list, that seems like it's sort of a nice to have was the elevator modernization at Winslow. That to me seems like
it's required. If we don't do it, then we have to shut the Winslow Center down.
well, yeah, but it's in green. I understand the color.
Oh, yeah, I
Okay,
did that wrong. So,
okay,
yeah.
oh, sorry, okay,
Yeah.
that's why I was like.
That's what I agree. Yeah, no,
Kind of
I'm
scratching my
sorry.
head, okay.
I did that wrong. Yeah, so those should be purple. So yeah,
Okay,
sorry. Yeah, you're correct. But yeah, the modernization and so right now the elevator does not work. So
mhm,
we can't. We have to let people know that it doesn't work. So so they have to agree that if their private rentals goes there, that they know that it's not going to be an issue. If we have an ADA accommodation issue, we must move them somewhere else, especially even for our classes. So we're not using it. It is, luckily all of our preschools are downstairs, but I think it's not that much of money to fix it. So yeah, I did that backwards. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, it was one of those things, if it was desirable, I was thinking
Yeah.
it might be more of a priority.
Yeah. Lance, Sandy asked a question about the dance floor. Do you want to talk a little bit about what has to go into kind of figuring out what we want to do with the dance floor?
Yeah, so Sandy, you probably remember that floor's got some sponge to it. The idea was that we had some gymnastics and dance classes that it has a little more give than your typical floor. It's not on the cement pad like the rest of that room is, the other side of the room. So it kind of takes some engineering to get it where we want it to be. That's why we tested out the other flooring in the entryway. We're not real happy with that just because it's leaving scuffs. It's more of a cheap material, so we need to find something that's gonna work best for us. So I don't wanna rush into it. That was kind of the whole thing behind this is, let's test it out. Let's live with it for 6 months, see how we like that material. We know we don't like it, so we're not gonna do that, but we need to find an alternative at this point. And I think it's important that we take our time on that. The floors they're beat up for sure. I will tell you, we don't get complaints about it. There's tables and chairs, you hardly ever see it. And most people are having a good time in that room and they're not worried about the floors as much, but we're definitely aware that we need to replace them. But again, I think it's in our best interest to take our time and find the right material.
Thank you, Lance. In the past, what we've received has been a number of years where we can see what we had on the list, what we moved out, what we have abandoned because of pricing or whatever. We're just not seeing any of that this evening. So when I see the chairs come back in, knowing that the dance floor hasn't, that we funded a dance floor, but then the dance floor didn't happen. Well, the dance floor is not going away. And so, Michelle, that's what I'm looking for in terms of a cash flow analysis of where our balances are year over year, what potential income we might have in order to support those balances and things. So that I think is budget committee, type information that would be very important to have here as we're being asked to make decisions.
And remind me, this is kind of like a 3-year sort of rolling.
Well, there's just 2 more years, so yeah,
Two
so yeah, so it rolls every year, so yeah, so last year you saw the 3 years, and so.
Gotcha.
And so we're just finished the
This-
first year,
Yeah,
and then this is the next year we're having a conversation about. And we include the estimates for the 3rd year,
for the
so.
3rd year.
But yes, so it's, so it rolls, for like every 3 years, but yes, and I mean, this is just so that we can get some feedback initially on what staff was thinking. And so, but I understand, Sandy, you wanted understanding of what we have left, from projects, and make sure that, that you understand that, so, yeah.
I would have to agree with that. And sort of just to jump on the Chairman Single comment as well too, I think there was an acceptance that a large redo was getting less and less likely because we had so many other things to do, and so there was an acceptance, I think, from at least the land and facilities that a smaller improvement, given that it's getting more use, would be acceptable if we can get it into just a shorter time frame in the CIP, right? So either this year or next year, just sort of some improvements just because of its increased usage. As sort of we'll accept that, knowing that we have much bigger projects that we need to complete. So I was a little bit, when I saw the slide, I took a second just to absorb that it's been pushed to be unfunded. Is that right?
Yeah, I didn't have it, I pulled what we did last year and I didn't see it on, there. It wasn't on my list of funded projects, so it was on my list of unfunded. But I do recall, that we did talk about 20,000 for a modest amount, for that, and so I think that.
I don't think we thought that, 300, 400, 500, or even $1 million was gonna be achievable or realized, but 10, 20, 30,000, whatever, for some improvement, I think, which is sort of in line with some of these. And so not having that on your script threw me off this board too. And so I would like to at least see that, and so, but to Mr. Bernal's point, it's hard to kind of put these, because there's not a table, it's like, okay, we're gonna do this year or that year versus this year.
Yeah, I know, it was a lot harder.
Yeah.
And I had to do it in presentation
Yeah.
mode, so, yes,
Mhm.
so, but yeah,
I mean,
we'll create that.
That's sort of my only comment. I think there's some of the, I remember, is the blue that's desirable, right?
Yeah.
Was it green or
Great,
blue's there because the aquatic park.
blue's
necessary.
necessary, blue's necessary, so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But the park managed signage isn't really necessary. I think it was more necessary because we were gonna finish out finish out the project. So we have 2 left to finish out the
Yeah.
project. So, instead of letting those last 2 hang, it was like, we've got the project to this point, let's just finish it out.
Yeah.
Before the person who's making the signs no longer makes the signs, and then we can't find someone to do it. So that's kind of one of the reasons why it's in there. It's because we have someone who's willing to do the last 2 signs. And if he goes away, then it's gonna be difficult to find somebody else, so yes. And more expensive, right, Tom?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, the reason why we waited for him is because he was about 1/3 of the price.
Mhm.
As well as I spoke to him 2 days ago, and he said if we wanted to do one this year, he would do 2 of them this year and not bill us until 27 for the next one.
Nice.
So another thing.
Just a quick question on the elevator modernization. Do we have, because that's something we're gonna have to do we have a rough estimate on how long that would take once the go-ahead is given?
Yeah, it's about 2 weeks. I have to get an electrician up there to do some pre-work
Okay,
before they come and do their thing, but yeah, about 2 weeks.
okay,
Just
all
not
right,
bad.
thank you.
Yeah.
The only, comment I had was in regards to, Chilpancingo and, the boardwalk replacement at Shannon Hills, and that, I almost think that, the cost, as Vice Chair Bernardo had said, for Shannon Hills is a lot to put into one corner of the district, whereas I could see potentially some horse trading, if you will, for maybe, trying to reduce the cost of the, improvements on the boardwalk in favor of doing some, amount of work at Chilpancingo, just in sort of the spirit of the, serving the greatest use for the public. Chilpancingo is seeing a lot more activity now with the night market. It'd be good to sort of facilitate, the people who are there, more with some sort of amenities. But I just don't know how much more life we can get out of the boardwalk either. It's been.
The boardwalk shut down right now,
Oh, it
so
is?
yeah, so, but I'm hearing that the board would like some options that just don't assume that we replace the boardwalk. That what other options could go back there. It is a seasonal creek, and so, it's not, people would not be able to have access to that area. But I will talk with staff on, put our heads together and figure out if there's something less costly that we could do. But that's really the only amenity in that park as well, so.
Is there maybe a partial replacement strategy that
Right,
does
yeah.
a portion of it versus the whole route?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
We were hoping to get some funding assistance
That's right.
with the creeks, but that did not happen, so.
Yeah, and that was one other thing I think, we don't list it, and we obviously can't count on it, but some grant funding could be, available for, these types of projects, at least some of the smaller ones. I think, like a freezer replacement type of project might be something.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely open to grants and other things like that, so, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not a seasonal creek. The creek runs all year. Tom is correcting me.
Okay.
So we need to find some way to keep people out of there is what you're telling me.
Mhm. Vice Chair Bernardo, your hand's up, so.
Yeah, I am contemplating abandoning the boardwalk. For the length of walkway that it provides, for the cost, it's kind of mind-boggling. I mean, if the idea is to put amenity in that park, then I think for $300,000 or a lot less, we could think of another amenity. There are some areas where some picnic tables might be really nice in that park. Anyway, some thoughts now that we know what the price of replacing it is. My last comment, I think, would be I would like to see what the trash cans look like.
Yes, you will see that. We don't have them picked out yet.
Were these not similar to what we had talked about, but just now with the recycling?
Yeah, we're
kind of, okay.
we'll be back, yeah. Great. Anything else? Anybody want any direction from?
Well,
we don't have any members of the public.
That's why, I was gonna ask in terms of questions, but I am inclined to, want to see this kind of work through its, regular process and going through the subcommittees. I think it most likely will need to get through land and facilities and then also through budget and finance. I know it extends this a little bit and it means bringing those folks together to meet on the topic, but it seems to me that, just in order to do its due diligence, that we probably need to get through those subcommittees before, bringing it back to the full board.
Okay.
And Vice Chair Bernardo?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I did have one more thing. It occurs to me that, we had a discussion earlier about the community foundation and its desire to look for projects that, are more than just the, $1,000 here and $2,000 there. And there are a couple of things on this list that strike me as being potential to at least, see if the community foundation would be interested in helping us do some of these things. So I just think that it would be a great idea to keep that in mind. The preschool playhouse is one that suggests itself to me. Also, part of the trellis replacement at Roger Smith Park may be something that they would be interested in. Again, I'm not talking about all of it, but perhaps some of it. Anyway, some of these things just come in at a dollar amount that suggests that whoever mentioned, I think it was you, Derek, mentioned grants, would be great for the district to start thinking about maybe making some requests.
Just one other thing, to say overall, I really appreciate that, we've gone through in this process to sort of look at the priorities. That was one of the things that I had brought up initially, I think a while back, and wanting to evaluate some of the projects against, some criteria that we would establish. And it seems like we've got that framework now for which we can kind of evaluate the merits of certain projects, certainly foundational needs that address safety, and then, the supportive types of projects that are there in order to, address things that are functionality, there's a level of service, obligations that we have. And then, some of the other projects that are maybe deemed as just complementary, nice to have types of amenities. So I really appreciate, at least the thought process that was put into kind of grouping these into those categories, because it helps make some of the decisions. Is if we can't fund all of the CIP, then we can start to really look at, the things we have to do versus, the things that maybe we want to do.
So what would the order then be? Because it sounds like just which projects should be the focus is kind of the first step. Because
yeah, which projects, I mean,
yeah.
yeah, when there's funding decisions, but a level 1 project in our mind would be the first to be funded because it's safety required, ongoing, and then the next, the next set is that that level where if we don't do it, then we won't be able to provide that service. It's at end of its useful life. You don't have to shut the pool down, those sort of things. And then the last is that it's desirable. And the best there would be a mix of all of them, right? But it is a way when we're running short of money to try to do that. And I do want to thank Lisa did a great job of, putting all the numbers together, and at least giving us a first pass at this, identifying those levels, and doing that, so.
Well, I didn't hear that anybody was against sort of the required or.
Right.
No.
So it sounded like more of some of the nice to haves.
Right.
So would that then be the sort of steps that maybe reevaluating the nice to haves?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And then if there's any, and then looking at some of these new ones that maybe fell off the list that staff forgot about, or we talked about before, and or replacing and not doing something. So staff will look at that in those respective committees.
Yeah. To help keep it on the radar, at least it's, addressed, but not maybe, or carried forward, but not addressed as part of the CIP. Okay, well, it sounds like, it was just for discussion tonight, and I think we had a lot to kind of look at. I'm hopeful we'll get, a copy of the presentation and maybe, some of the materials.
Yeah, you'll get a copy of the presentation. I'll also drop it in the supplemental materials. And before the subcommittee meetings, we'll have it in the actual packet, so.
Good. All right, we'll go ahead and close item 6.2 and then move on to the verbal reports from the committee chairs and opportunity to set meeting dates. I don't think there are any.
No, I'm going to have to talk to the budget and finance and the land facilities, but I will do that via email.
Does this, in terms of going through those committees, delay the ability to approve our budget?
No, we can approve the operating budget.
The operating budget.
Yeah, I mean, we've in years past not approved the CIP till August at times, so we need to, we do need to approve it.
Yeah, to move
but
forward on
yeah.
But yeah, okay. I just was worried it would, offset the timing of other.
No, we'll still adopt the operating budget, yeah.
Okay.
But depending on when I can get meetings with the other two committees, I may be able to pull that off, but we'll see.
All right, well, then let's go and move into board announcements and requests of staff. Go ahead, Reverend Flynn. No, it's a.
I know I bumped you up because I had you here, yeah.
You don't wanna, yeah, sit and.
It said since I was doing a presentation, you'd all sit on that side.
Fair enough. I don't have any requests of staff, just a couple of observations. Again, just thanks for a great Fourth of July celebration. I think we had the longest line of any of the. I think we've been around at one point, like several corners, and so it was great. And then the Dolphins, every time I said, do your cheer, they did their cheer. So it was awesome. So hopefully we can have something similar next year as well too. That was great. I did see some social media postings on the TH Teen Center car wash, which I had on my calendar, but life and meetings took over. So I still have a dirty car, but if there's another one, I may try to swing by. And then a couple updates for Dolphins. Congratulations to all the swimmers who got all their laps in today for Swimpalooza. I know that the kids were tired, but they had a lot of fun. So congratulations to them.
I'll just echo 4th of July parade was a lot of fun. The weather was perfect that morning. I'm looking forward to Blues and Booze next weekend. I'll be there both Friday night and Saturday. It'll be a fun night, and Native Elements on Saturday is a really good band. They're all good. I've heard all of them, I believe, so it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Vice Bernard.
Yeah, I wanted to report that we just got back from a couple days at Lake Tahoe, and the city of South Lake Tahoe has just built and opened a phenomenal aquatic and recreation center that kind of encompasses just about everything that either we have or that we could dream to have. Their new aquatic building there are 3 indoor pools. One is a regulation length swimming pool for is that a 50-meter, Michelle? Is that what regulation length
That's
is?
Olympic size is 50-meter, but yeah,
Okay.
25 yards
Anyway.
usually, so yeah.
Yeah. They have a middle pool with a diving board and a rock climbing wall the kids can climb up and then dive into the water. And then they have a kiddie area that has a little current pool in it that, if you could drift around in a holding a noodle, and there's just little things for little kids to play in as well. They have a fully functioning and very flexible gymnasium that it just kind of made me drool. They have a fitness center. They have community rooms. They've got a 2-story rock climbing wall. They've got all their community programs are in this facility. So how did they pay for it? They paid for it through the temporary occupancy tax, which is a huge source of money for the city of South Lake Tahoe. Something that, of course, we have something similar here in Pleasant Hill, but that's city funded and helps them get their budget put together again. But they also had some significant contributions from some major league ball players in the 7-figure category to help pay for some of this. And anyway, it was just a jaw-dropping venue to see what what people with a can-do attitude can do. It underscored for me how important it is, I think, for all of us to continue to, and maybe Michelle to help us as board members take some tours of some neighboring communities and what facilities they have been able to develop for some of their constituents, so that we can, kind of put some thoughts behind our dreams and visions for what we would like to see in Pleasant Hill here. But I think having field trips and seeing what our neighbors have been able to accomplish, I think could give us some real momentum in explaining to our own community, you know, the sorts of things we'd like to have, and what it can do for people, basically. So, anyway, just wanted to share with you that experience that I had. It was phenomenal. Great kudos to them for their can-do attitude to build a facility like that. It was just incredible, just incredible. Wanted to share that with y'all.
Yeah, I can say, you know, it's interesting, you know, like South Lake Tahoe, we were up there actually ourselves, not too long ago. And, you know, they have, you know, this nice amenity, but yet, you know, it's got such a beautiful lake that you go and swim in and it's really cold. So only so many, you know, months of the year that you can actually go into the pool. I can understand, you know, the appeal of having a pool next to, you know, the beautiful lake. But it does help, you know, to get some, you know, visual perspective of what, you know, the potential possibilities could be. So, yeah, for me, I just wanted to say, and I'm looking forward to Blues and Brews. Although I'll just be there on the Friday night, I won't be able to make it really for Saturday. I'm gonna be starting my family vacation, so I'll be looking for some coverage for somebody who can help do some of the announcements at the beginning. So I'll be there for Friday, the pre-party to make some announcements on behalf of the district. But I wanted to, you know, focus a little bit on, you know, now that we've had some of our, you know, 75th anniversary celebrations, you know, and we, you know, have, you know, been able to, you know, kind of recognize the history. I wanted to kind of transition as we look into the next half of this year into the work ahead to help position us for the next years. And so one of the things I, you know, I was happy to see tonight was one of the objectives I wanted to try and accomplish was with, you know, prioritization around some of, you know, the CIP projects. I know we talked earlier in the year about making sure we had our priorities for what types of unfunded projects that we were wanting to make sure that we're, you know, presenting, we're all aligned as far as those are concerned, you know, as it relates to, you know, future going forward with the bond measure. But one of the other requests I have, you know, for us to go forward is to look at some of the ways in which we measure our performance with the various departments. You know, I think it's important, you know, things that can be measured, you know, can be improved. And I talked earlier in the year about wanting to kind of focus on our core, you know, responsibilities and things we could do to be improving the district. I think it'd be, you know, really nice to have some of the departments, you know, kind of look at their own individual performance metrics. How do they evaluate themselves and how they can, you know, say year after year, we are, you know, providing this many services for this many people at this cost. You know, so I'd like to have some discussion about, you know, what are some of the performance metrics that we can use that help publicize to the public the value for what they're getting from the district. So I know it's going to be difficult for, you know, some departments versus others. Like, how do you quantify some of those things for, say, operations and maintenance? But yeah, those will be, you know, something I'd like, you know, for us to kind of work towards, so that it helps us to, you know, further our goals going forward. I had already provided the appreciation for Phil, so you know, just you know, appreciate him, but you know, everybody who helped pull that together. It was nice to see so many people as part of our parade. And so with that, I'll close tonight's meeting. It's 8:47. Thanks, Andy.
Morning stuff. I'm gonna go see that.
Yeah. I went to Fort Bragg and they had a